Okay, we are now live.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the October 8th, 2020 awards meeting to order. We have a quorum with Stephen Datz, Alan McElroy, Joe Arfano, Wayne Young, and I do see Steve Tooten. Yes, I do. Okay, Steve Tooten's here as well. And I am Jenny McCollum, the Chief Procurement Officer for JEA and the Chair of the Awards Committee. We also have OGC represented by Lasikia Hodges, and Budget is represented by Lori Whitmer. And everyone's here and accounted for. So just quickly, in an effort to slow the spread of the COVID-19 virus and encourage social distancing, Governor DeSantis issued Executive Order 20-69, allowing local governments to hold public meetings using communication media technology rather than in a physical location. In keeping with the executive order, which has been extended through the end of October, the JEA Awards Committee meeting will be held via WebEx teleconference, which allows interested persons to view and participate in the meeting remotely. Individuals who have technical difficulties accessing the meeting or during the meeting should contact Lynn Ricks at 665-8621 for assistance. In the event multiple people have technical difficulties that preclude them from attending or accessing the meeting will be recessed or postponed until the technical issues can be remedied. This meeting is being recorded and the minutes are being taken. Therefore, any individuals who speak during the meeting should do so clearly and slowly to ensure they are heard and understood for recording purposes and by other participants and attendees. Participants shall, regardless of how they are accessing the meeting, keep their microphones on mute at all times when they are not speaking. The meeting host, which is Landon Todd, will have the capability to mute any microphones that are transmitting sound that cause feedback or that is otherwise disruptive to the meeting. Each person must wait to be recognized by the meeting host before speaking. And if people attempt to speak out of turn or talk over others, they will be removed from the meeting. Each time an individual speaks during the meeting, they must first provide their name to ensure those dialing in can identify the speakers. And members of the public must state their name each time they make a comment. For all awards committee meetings, the public comment portion occurs at the beginning of the meeting. All public comments should pertain only to the items on the agenda and are limited to 3 minutes in duration. The agenda and the associated materials can be accessed through the JEA website at www.jea.com, and there is a procurement tab, and under our tab there is a link that says awards, meetings, agendas, and minutes. Members of the public may submit their comments by email in advance of the meeting, or may log in or dial into the meeting to speak during the public comment portion of the meeting. And the individuals who are unable to access the meeting or who wish to submit their comments in advance may do so by submitting those to Lynn Ricks at rixlw@jea.com. Public comments submitted by email must be received no later than 10:10 a.m. on the date of the meeting. Public comments submitted by email will be read into the record during the public comment portion, and individuals attending the call will be given an opportunity to comment one at a time and in an orderly fashion upon recognition of the meeting host. The public comments will be given equal consideration regardless of the manner in which they were submitted. And when we finish with the meeting, we will have a recorded version in the same place that I mentioned earlier on the JEA website. I'm going to pass it to Landon to take us through the tools of WebEx and walk us through the comment or public comment portion of the meeting.
Hey, good morning. Once again, my name is Landon Todd, and for those that are new to the WebEx technology, let me give you a brief overview of the controls. If you're joining us via the desktop interface or a smart device, such as a smartphone or tablet, you may move around your screen and will see a series of buttons at the bottom. The very first one that you may notice looks like a red microphone with a slash through it. If it is red, it means you are muted and will be on mute for the majority of this meeting unless you are recognized to speak. If you're recognized to speak or you're asked to provide comment, you will click on that button and it will turn dark gray or black. This will mean that you're unmuted and people can hear you. I do ask that you use the mute option to mute your line when you're not speaking. This will allow us to reduce the amount of background noise and have the most productive meeting possible. Also, if you'd like to see who is participating in today's meeting, you can look over 3 more buttons to the right to find an icon that looks like a person. If you click on that, it will bring up the participant list. If you're on a mobile device, it will pull up in front of everything, and if you joined on your desktop machine, it will come up on the right side. This will allow you to see a long list of individuals who have joined today's meeting. Also, I have enabled the chat capability. If you touch your screen or scroll next to the person icon, you will notice an icon that looks like a caption bubble. If you click on that, it will bring up the chat window. Please remember that this meeting is being recorded, and I ask that you please be professional. But if you run into any difficulties, you can chat me directly, or if you'd like, you can type your comments to everyone. Now, during today's meeting, when presentations are shared, you may desire to zoom in to more easily read the content. Within the WebEx Toolbar, located on the left side, you will notice 3 key options. The first is the icon with a plus positive indicator. This will allow you to easily zoom in on the content of your display. Now, the second icon with a minus negative indicator will allow you to reverse and zoom out of the content. And lastly is the icon with 4 arrows expanding, which allow you to maximize the presentations to your current WebEx window. Now, due to circumstances resulting from COVID-19, a historic number of employees are rapidly transitioning to remote work. WebEx meetings has never been more vital for staying connected. For some users, meeting experiences may be impacted due to strain on service providers, causing internet or phone service degradation. Now, here are some tips you can take to get the best meeting experience possible. Number 1, close background applications. Even if you're not using them, applications on your device are using precious resources. During the meeting or before, close any applications or browser sessions that you're not using. Number 2, switch to call-in via audio. If your internet audio or video experiences does not work, you can keep collaborating. Call in using the dial-in numbers in today's meeting invitation to join via a cell phone or landline. Number 3, hardwire your workstation. Depending on your location and how many people are using the same Wi-Fi around you, you may see slower speeds on Wi-Fi than on a wired Ethernet connection to your computer. And lastly, we're here to help. Contact the JEA WebEx support team if you're having any difficulty in today's meeting. They can be reached at webexsupport@jea.com. Now, those are the major controls of WebEx. Now, for public comments, we will be using the raised hand feature. If you're using the WebEx client, this feature is located within the participant window that I mentioned. At the top of the list, your name will be visible, and to the right, you will notice a gray icon that looks like a hand. If you click it, it will turn blue, letting me know that you would like to be recognized for comment. Now, for those that may have called in directly, there are 2 additional ways that you can notify me that you'd like to provide comment. The first is by pressing *3 on your phone. This will raise your hand and then be instructed to press *6 to unmute your line. If you unmute your line, please state your first and last name so that everyone may hear who is speaking before you proceed with your comment. As we go through this meeting, I am the moderator and have the capability to mute everyone's line, but I will only do so to make sure this meeting runs smoothly. Now, it is 10 minutes after, and we will now proceed with the public comment section of this meeting. But first, I will ask Lynn, is there any public comments that we have been provided by email that need to be read into the record? Lynn?
This is Lynn Ricks. No public comments.
Thank you. Now, for those using the WebEx technology, this is your time if you'd like to provide public comments during today's meeting. please raise your hand or send a message in the chat window letting us know that you'd like to be recognized. Okay, if you have dialed in today's meeting, as a reminder, you may press *3 to activate the hand feature. Seeing no public comments or requests to be recognized, we can now proceed to the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Landon. I appreciate that. On the regular agenda today, we have award items 1 through 7. They've all been reviewed by procurement and by budget and are ready for the awards committee review. We will go through each one of these items individually, and I will ask for, after questions and comments, I will ask for the committee to provide a motion to approve each item with a second, and then I'll do a roll call through the entire committee, asking each one of the members individually for their vote to approve. So we will just get started on award number 1, which are the minutes from the September 24th, 2020 meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions on those meeting minutes? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 24th, 2020.
Steve Tootin, motion to approve.
Joe Arfano, second.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call through the entire committee. With Steve Tootin.
Approved.
Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Alan McElroy.
Approved.
And Wayne Young.
Approved.
Thank you. Award number 2 is a contract extension. This is for our Cisco SmartNet equipment support and maintenance of JEA Cisco infrastructure, which assists JEA with ensuring network reliability and operational readiness through hardware repair, replacement, software upgrades, security vulnerability patches, and troubleshooting support. JEA requires Cisco SmartNet to provide the best overall value from the products and the services JEA has invested in, and to help ensure JEA's network switches, routers, firewalls, and security applications can match the security threats of today. Presidio Network Solutions, LLC was our original awardee. This is a contract extension for 6 months, and the award amount is $252,229.23. This, just for some history, this was competitively bid and approved by the awards committee in October of 2016. JEA executed the 1-year renewal of this contract, which was approved at the awards committee in November of 2019. There was an administrative change order for additional funds, and it was completed in March of 2020, which covered additional WebEx-related support through the existing term, which was through September 30th of 2020 of this year. So this request is for a 6-month extension. So we would go through the end of March, and we'll add the funds. And when we look at the costs we're paying over the next 6 months, it's approximately 11% more than what we were paying before, but this includes new items being supported for JEA's new CoLogic data center and increased use of the WebEx support items. So still deemed reasonable. The increase is just due to the increase of items we need supported. But JEA will still continue to receive the same contractual discounts, which is anywhere between 20 and 21%, based off of, the different items. So we've got the telephony items, and then we've got the voice eCMU items. Those are broken up. You can see in that last paragraph, to come up with the award total, the telephony equipment is about $18,000, and the rest goes to the network equipment. So I'll ask the committee if you guys have any questions or comments on award number 2.
This is Alan McElroy. I make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Alan.
Stephen Dapp, second.
Thanks, Stephen. I'll roll call through the entire committee, starting with Alan McElroy to approve award item number 2.
Approved.
Stephen Dapp.
Approved.
Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Steve Tootin.
Approved.
And Wayne Young.
Approved.
Thank you. Okay, award number 3, this is a straight bid for Boulevard Street force main and water main replacement. This is for the installation of all tools, equipment, materials, supplies, manufactured articles, transportation, and services to perform all the labor work and other operations as required for the replacement of the Boulevard Street force main and water main. Jack's Underground Utilities, Inc. is our awardee in the amount of $2,122,150.59. We are expected this project to be completed in October of 2021, and we have a 10% JSUB goal on this contract. JEA received 6 bids and 1 no bid, so quite a bit of competition here. And the way that the JEA team had split up the bid form was divided into 3 sections. The first section was water main replacement. The second was the force main replacement from 7th to 12th Street. And the third was the force main replacement from 12th to 16th Street. Bidders were advised that the force main replacement from the 12th to the 16th Street portion would be awarded based on the existing pipe integrity. And subsequent non-destructive testing showed that this portion of the force main was in better condition than expected and does not require replacement at this time. So JEA is only awarding the water main replacement and force main replacement to 7th and 12th Street. And so you can see that the award amount covers just those 2 sections of the workbook. I will stop and see if you guys have any questions there. And I'm getting some feedback from a caller. Landon.
I've muted the line.
Okay, thank you. All right, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, this is Wayne. I do have a question along the technical aspect of it. Looking at this, I'm thinking in terms of the contract being bid out or looking for input based on the 3 sections. And there's, I'm assuming, continuity in the entire pipe system. And my question is this, and I don't know if I'm on the right track or not, but with respect to a project like this when it's broken out, are there any costs associated with the overall project that could be absorbed in any one portion of the bid as opposed to being spread out amongst all the bids? In other words, with just one portion of this bid being awarded based on the pricing, does that cost just uniquely apply to that section, or is there a possibility that other things could be rolled into it or out of it and placed in another section, such as overhead and things like that? Does that make sense?
This is Brian
Yes.
James.
Thanks, Brian.
Hi, I'm the project manager, and the costs were segregated specifically to those individual sections, so there wasn't any overlap between the 2 force main sections, if I'm hearing your question correctly.
Okay. Yeah, that answers my question. So they all are independently constructed as far as physical work to be done as well as cost. That's what I
correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Wayne,
This is Lori Whitmer from Budgeting. I'm not sure if this answers your question as well, but when we review awards, if it has a water component and a sewer component, those have separate budgets, separate projects, and we do ask for that split, and we do verify budgets on both sides.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Wayne. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 3.
Wayne Young, so moved.
Joe Orfano, second.
Thank you. I'll roll call through the entire committee, starting with Wayne Young.
Approved.
Joe Orfano.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Alan McElroy.
Approved.
And Steve Tootin.
Approved.
Thank you. All right, moving to award number 4. This is a JEA standard and a proprietary system a software that we use called Power Plan. This is a fixed asset software, which is used by project accounting and includes asset accounting, project cost management, project utilization or unitization, project accounting, and charge repository. Lots of fancy accounting things that I'm sure make sense to the accounting department. The maintenance agreement for the Power Plan states that they will provide maintenance and technical support for the 2 most recent versions available only. And in addition to continued support, this request provides an upgrade to the newest version of the Power Plan software. So Power Plan Consultants, Inc. is our recommended awardee, and the award amount is $1,201,542.75. This is a 3-year award, which will take us through October of 2023. And a little bit of history on this. We've been using Power Plan as a company since 1998. So, the utility accounting for fixed assets has unique requirements that most software solutions cannot meet with an out-of-box functionality. Power Plan's fixed asset system was designed for capital-intensive industries such as utilities and have developed a strong market niche to work in conjunction with ERP systems, just like the one we use, which is Oracle. And in the past, JEA has done market analysis of other products such as Oracle fixed assets and concluded that it cannot meet JEA's accounting needs without a significant amount of customization and cost. So this request includes an upgrade from version 10.1 to version 2020.1. It's a big jump of Power Plan software for $572,000 approximately, and 3 years support from November of 2020 to through the end of October of 2023. And that support amount is about $630,000. So that brings us to our award total of about $1.2 million. And just as a note, the reason for the upgrade, of course, is that the Power Plan is at the end of its useful life, the current version. Sorry, I had a call coming in. So the current version of Power Plan is at the end of life and will no longer be supported without very high additional costs. So I will pause and see if the committee has any questions or comments. All right, can I have a motion to approve award number 4?
And Stephen Datz, motion to approve.
Steve
Alan
Tootin,
McElroy, second.
All right, I heard the 2 Stevens first. So, Alan, you're going to have to pick up your game for the next one. All right, we'll do a roll call through the entire committee to approve award number 4, starting with Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Thank you. Steve Tootin.
approved.
Alan McElroy.
Approved.
Joe Orfano.
Approved.
And Wayne Young.
Approved.
Thank you. Award number 5 is a contract increase, and this is for JEA's Downtown Campus Owners Representative. So the purpose of the original invitation to negotiate was to select an owner's representative who is primarily responsible for advocating in favor of JEA's best interests by overseeing the design and the construction of the JEA headquarters office facility. The original awardee, CBRE Inc., was awarded this through a project completion. And the ask here for this is, and I'm getting some feedback, Landon, if you don't mind. The ask for this is for a contract increase in the amount of $238,580. Just a little bit of history here because we've had quite a bit. So originally awarded and approved by the Awards Committee October of 2017 to CBRE Inc. Then we came back and from previous change orders and that were also approved through the committee, we had one in November of 2017 adding phase 1 workplace strategy services in the amount of about $65,000. And then in June of 2019 added our change management services in the amount of about $78,000. And all of those original awards and change orders are included as backup. So the original award in October of 2017 anticipated that JEA would develop the HQ project through a self-build approach. The process for corporate headquarters was modified by JEA from the original approach in about June 2018 to include a competitive solicitation for building solutions. CBRE assisted JEA throughout the solicitation process, and project planning continued under a modified approach, including a build-to-suit lease solution being negotiated with the top-ranked firm selected in April of 2019, which was Ryan Company. Project planning and changes continued through May of 2020, when the project scope was reduced and the JEA board approved the final scope and limits in June of 2020. So the final scope included separating out the Emergency Operations Center and related support functions, including personnel, into a second hardened facility project, giving the working name HQ2. So the initial CBRE owner's rep engagement anticipated that a project completion would have been April of 2020, but given multiple delays and shifts in project approach and scope, a contract increase is being requested to have CBRE carry the owner's rep work through the expected project completion on the modified scope through June of 2022. So the amount that we are asking for the contract increase of about $239,000 will take us through the end of June of 2020 is where we're estimating. Again, this is a project completion, so if anything else comes up, we've got the flexibility to continue to use CBRE past that date. If we need additional funding, then that's something that we'll have to look at. But I think at this point, we are feeling pretty good about where we are, hopefully, and I will pause and ask the committee if you guys have questions or comments, or if Nancy or any of the business units would like to say anything that I might have forgotten.
This is Wayne. I do have a general question with the new not to exceed amount of $949,199. Is that increase by the amount of $238,580 that we're discussing right now? Is that how I can determine what the previous not to exceed amount was?
So the original award amount was $568,119. So back in 2017, we awarded it for that amount. We had the two change orders that we listed, which were about $65,000 and $78,000, which get added to that original amount. And then this increase for the continued service would be added to those three. So you have to add all four totals to get to your new not to exceed amount.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jenny, through the chair, Sofika, can you notate just for the record and just amend the award to state contract amendment? Your procurement toolbox, the terminology that's used is contract amendment rather than contract increase. And is the contract, is it clear in the term, what's the term of this contract? Is that clear? Do we need to include that in this amendment, or is it just the monetary increase that we need?
It's just the monetary increase. When we set this up originally, it was through project completion, since these are hard to estimate up front and when they're going to be completed. So that gives us flexibility on the end date, but we'll make that change to the type of award throughout the document to make sure that's reading consistently to contract amendment. And as a note, just for the committee, the rates remain the same for these services. So when we negotiated the rates, the hourly rates back in 2017, they've held those flat for us for this entire time, and we'll continue to do that. That's a 5-year fixed rate. So that's a pretty big. It's important to understand that. That's a big ask from us to the owner's rep to not have the ability to increase based off CPI. So, any other questions? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 5.
Wayne Young, motion to approve.
Allen, second.
Thank you, Wayne. Thanks, Alan. I'll roll call through the entire committee, starting with Wayne Young.
Approve.
Alan McRoy.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Joe Arfano.
Approved.
And Steve Tooten.
Approved.
Thank you. You guys like how I say Datz? I really like to say Stephen's last name like that. All right, award number 6. We have an OEM. This is for our Trojan UV disinfection system. And this request is to support continued operations of the Trojan UV systems at Buckman, Southwest, District 2, and Mandarin water reclamation facilities. Trojan Technologies, Inc. is our recommended awardee in the amount of $5,541,296. This is a 5-year award. And just again, to reiterate, this Trojan is the OEM manufacturer of the equipment for the Trojan UV disinfection system at 4 of our water treatment plants or wastewater treatment plants. And the UV disinfection provides rapid, effective inactivation of microorganisms through a physical process. JEA and Trojan have agreed to a 5-year fixed contract for equipment to aggregate all of our spend, stabilize pricing and cost savings, and place a spot buying at each of our locations. So this is incorporating across the board the different Trojan UV equipment at the 4 locations where we had been handling them separately. So this is a big win, for us. Whenever we can find aggregation to do that, we will try. And the pricing represents an average of 15% discount off list price, which is 9% more than what we were previously getting doing this at the individual locations. So we are estimating a savings over the Sorry, I was getting another call. I'm popular today. So the savings is, we're estimating about $200,000 a year, or about $1 million over the life of the agreement. Do you guys have any questions or comments? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 6.
Joe Arfano, so moved.
Stephen
Thanks,
Dash, second.
Thanks, Stephen. I'll the roll call through the entire committee. Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Stephen Dax.
Approved.
Alan McElroy.
Approved.
Steve Tootin.
Approved.
And Wayne Young.
Approved.
All right, thank you. Our last award is award number 7. This is a joint project with FDOT Edge. This is Edgewood Avenue South, resurfacing from US 17 to Cassett Avenue. So this request, as always, with our joint projects with FDOT, is to advance the funds to FDOT in accordance with our master agreement for the utility construction costs associated with this project. So just as a note, one thing that is different for this one with everything that went on last week was not knowing if we could have the meeting virtually and if the executive order was going to be extended. We ended up canceling the meeting last week just to be safe. And so this is a ratification. This is something that to meet the deadlines of the FDOT, we needed to prepay in advance. So the amount prepaid to FDOT was $716,650. They are expected the completion to be March of 2022. And these fall in line with the same ones you've seen over weeks past, especially the last awards meeting. We had 3 of these. It's very similar, doing the joint project save JEA money from the resurfacing, and it's in our best interest usually when we can to partner with them. So I will stop and ask the committee if you guys have any questions or comments. Okay. So, and just a note, before this was approved to pay, we went through the GM of Water Wastewater to get their approval before we moved through with this, before bringing to the awards committee, so that there was an executive level approval for us to bring this as a ratification to you all. So I will ask for a vote and a motion to approve award number 7.
Steve Tootin, motion to approve.
Thank you, Steve.
Alan McElroy, second.
Thanks, Alan. All right, we'll do a roll call through the entire committee, starting with Steve Tootin.
Approved.
Alan McElroy.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Joe Arfano.
Approved.
And Wayne Young.
Approved.
All right. We have reviewed all the award items individually, and they have all been approved. So the entire agenda for October 8, 2020 is approved. And is there any other business to come before the awards committee? I'll just make a quick comment, and you've heard us talk about this. We are operating under the executive order currently that the governor has put in place. It is only going to be active through October of 2020, so October 31st, 2020. So the meetings that we have scheduled, our regularly scheduled meetings starting in November, are going to have to be in person. It provides a little bit of a conflict from a corporate when we're returning back to work. So Alan and I are going to discuss just from a timing perspective. My suggestion is going to be a hybrid approach where we still utilize the WebEx for anyone who needs to still call in from our staff perspective and, from the procurement group. What we will be required to do is have at least 3 of the committee members in person, and we will update our notices to include an in-person location as well as our WebEx dial-in. Just we're finding, and what we've seen at least, is that we feel more participation from outside callers are happening on the WebEx. So we think that's also still important in addition to our employees not returning to work right away. So as we work through all of that, we will have a hybrid approach. So we'll be working with your assistants to figure out which 3 members need to be in person, and maybe we do a rotation and we can work through that starting at the beginning of November. And then I will be in person with you all, and we can, run this like we would through WebEx with our laptops, just in person as well is kind of what my proposal is. So I want to open that up to the committee just for comments, see if you guys have any other thoughts or suggestions, and then if Lasikia has any other comments, please jump in. But while we're all together and able to talk about it, let's do that.
Yeah, this is Steve Tootin. I guess presumably the meeting will be held in the first floor of the CC building?
We were thinking it would be in the procurement bid office, yes, so easy access in and out.
Thank you.
Hey, Jenny, we are working with Carla Miller and our ethics office to come up with guidelines to give really to all of the city's boards and commissions. And so when I have those more formalized guidelines to tell you what flexibility you're going to have, I'll make sure that we share them with you so that if you want to implement those with your JEA procurement committees, you'll be able to have that information.
Okay, great. Yeah, in the bid office is quite a large space. If there's limited, if OGC needs to be there, I don't know if you guys can still be remote, or if you want to attend in person with, even if it's all 5 committee members, or we definitely have to have at least 3. And myself, we can all spread out, throughout to be able to socially distance. And I think it sounds like you guys would be in agreement to that and that you like kind of where my proposal is going. Can you guys confirm that? Do you have any questions?
This is Wayne. I do have a question. I'm not familiar. I might have been in the room before, but I'm not familiar with it by name. Is the area that's being recommended taken into consideration those who might attend outside of the board members? It's going to be open to the public, correct?
Yes, so it is in the CC building, so it's you don't have to go through security. It's our procurement bid office where people can come and go. Typically, we'll have security at any of y'all's meetings as well from Brandon and Steve's group, but it'll be very easy for people to come and go. They just walk in the customer building and go to the left, and our bid office is right there.
Okay, I mean, that's great as far as access, but I'm talking specifically to social distancing. Is there capacity in the room in anticipation of large groups of people coming in? I understand the access piece, that's great.
Sure, yes. So that room is it's quite large. I think it can fit about 35, 40 people in it. As just a practical, historically, we've never actually had anyone attend our meetings in person. And so we are kind of basing some of this off of just history, also still allowing the WebEx feature and for people to call in and view in from home, certainly allowing them to still socially distance. We prefer them to do that. But if they want to attend in person, they can do that as well.
Okay.
If we ever feel like there is a situation that we're uncomfortable with, we can always postpone the meeting and reschedule it. We don't have to move forward if we feel there's, going to be a violation of a safety perspective. But we don't anticipate that, Wayne. Stephen, did you have a question?
Yes. In order to make this the best possible experience in light of a hybrid type solution, if you feel comfortable that the CC1 room is going to be adequate, we can make plans to kind of outfit the room, with a WebEx kit so that everything functions as well and easily as possible.
Perfect. We can also work with facilities to take chairs out and, distance the chairs in the room as well, so that we will have a better idea of the max capacity at our social distancing guidelines. So we've got a little bit of work to do, and we've got, this month to kind of work through that with the different teams, but wanted to, just get your thoughts and see if there were any other options that you guys wanted to discuss, or any other questions that you might have.
A follow-up question, and this is really, I guess, geared more towards Lasikia. Once we determine the maximum capacity, would it be relevant to like RSVP type, for physical attendance? So that we know when we reach capacity, and then, everybody else would, by default need to connect in via WebEx?
So, Stephen, that's a great question. And, there's kind of a fine line between the public having a right to show up, the overlay of CDC guidelines that certainly the city can exercise through police powers. And so that's exactly, the sort of demarcation lines that we are working through on the city side, because as you can imagine, everybody from the city council to your JEA board to the other procurement, the other independent agencies, you are all dealing with the same thing and having to prepare. And so our hope is that we can come up with guidelines to tell you, what clear demarcation lines you can draw as far as public attending, and when you can. Usually, I'll tell you, just outside of pre-COVID-19 cases, if you were to ever, JEA board, have a meeting where you literally didn't have enough seats for the amount of people that are coming, and sometimes it happens unexpectedly, you would just always have an overflow room where you could direct the public and say, okay, here's the room. And city councils had to do that multiple times when they're dealing with controversial issues, to have that overflow room. I've never heard of a requirement to have the public RSVP, because, of course, they just have a right to show up. And the public body just has to accommodate that within reasonable measures with the overlay of the CDC guidelines and the COVID-19 issue that we're dealing with. So we're going to work on some guidelines, Jenny. We actually have meetings with ethics office this week, so I'm hoping, everybody's asking the same questions, and you clearly need several weeks to prepare. So hopefully by the end of next week, we'll be able to push something out to all of the agencies from OGC so that you're all acting consistently.
Perfect. Perfect.
And Stephen, this is Alan. I think the overflow, that was something I just wrote down. Thank you, Lasikia, for repeating it. Is if we could do some sort of an overflow area that's on the first floor, and maybe have WebEx technology available or something like that. We can work through that. I believe we can work through something like that, just in case.
So, yeah, there's and possibly we'll work with you, Alan, in facilities. There's a room immediately to the left when you come in the tower. That might be something that used to be our bid office, that may be something that we can use as an overflow. We would need the WebEx, and we would need to have it running on a screen and so that they can see it real time. But I think same thing. It would be as long as they could be in person and see the meeting. They don't have to actually be next to you guys. We could have it. We could certainly have it running through WebEx, I believe, live, in the overflow room. Speaking to that, just from a brainstorming perspective, if you guys are uncomfortable, from a safety perspective with COVID, we could even just think about doing that, having someone run it in WebEx, having you guys in person. I don't know if that's an option with Lasikia, but you guys still meeting in person, maybe where we typically would meet, and have the bid office open to the public with it running live, kind of like an overflow room. We'll see what the guidelines come up with, but maybe that's something you guys could talk to, to see if that's an option, so we don't, have that issue of too many participants in one room, and we could have multiple rooms set up. Just a thought.
Sure, we'll take a look at that. Off the top, the idea would be once the governor rescinds that order, we're back in pre-COVID-19 mode. So you're having a room with the meeting, And I think at best right now, what Jason Teal, our regulatory attorney, is saying is that you certainly can social distance within the room that the board is physically meeting. But as I said, I've had, personal conversations with Carla Miller, and certainly nothing stops us from a legal standpoint in still offering to the public. And I think you'll find that most of the public will want to still use the virtual option. So if you offer it to them as an additional, but just in case you have the 1 or 2 members who want to be there physically, we've got to make that available. And in your case, and by far with most of the boards and commissions, public normal attendance is less than 15, right? And so I don't expect there to be a surge of 200 members that are all of a sudden, because of COVID, now wanting to come and meet and see this procurement meeting in person. So I think you'll be fine. Maybe JEA different when they talk about the board, when they're talking about more controversial items, but I think your procurement perspective, I really don't anticipate any problems.
Okay, great. I don't either. I think just based off history, we just haven't had many people show up in person, and quite frankly, we see more showing up on the WebEx and the calls than we have before. So still allowing that option, I think, gives us better public perception and transparency to what's going on, and I think, could be continued to be a norm for us going forward, in addition to the in-person meetings. So we'll work through all that, and I appreciate everybody's input. I hope that everybody has a great rest of your Thursday and a very, very safe weekend. Sending prayers over to Louisiana, Mississippi area. Just hate to see them getting pummeled this hurricane season. Of course, we're all crossing our fingers. It's not over yet. We have till the end of November. So I know from my perspective, from the logistics section chief, we're ready. Alan, we're gonna make sure that if something does happen, we are ready. But it breaks my heart to see how much they're getting hit. So I hope everyone stays safe, and please, send your thoughts that way. And I'm sure our crews will also be heading that way to help, as they usually do. So, Wayne, did you have something?
I just want to comment, excellent training last week.
Yeah, agreed.
I will pass that along to Kirby. She does a great job. So
you guys
appreciate the feedback.
It was very, very good.
Yeah, it was. I agree. You both did a great job. So thank you for that. All right. Well, our meeting is officially adjourned. Everybody have a great day.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.